Hello, everybody. Welcome to Kevin Plays Disc Golf. Today we have a playthrough and course review from the disc golf course at New Hampshire Technical Institute in Concord, New Hampshire. My name is Kevin, and I play disc golf. Filming on course for this video was done on October 26, 2024. The course originally opened in 2021. To get to the course from either the north or the south, you will be taking Interstate 93 to exit 15E onto Interstate 293 East. The exit number is the same for both directions. From the west from downtown Concord, you'll be following US Route 202 East until it joins Interstate 393. If you're coming from the east, you'll be headed on Route 393 West. In either case, you'll be taking Exit 1 for Fort Eddy Road. Also in either case, you'll be taking a left at the end of the off-ramp, which will send you to the main entrance of New Hampshire Technical Institute. If school is in session, you're probably going to want to park in the large parking lot on the right, just after the soccer and baseball fields. If school is not in session, you may be able to continue to the small parking lot near the first tee. As this is on a college campus, when school is in session, or if it is a particularly nice weekend afternoon, the field that holes 1 through 4 are on may have students on them. My playthrough started at about 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning, so though students were in the dorms, most of the students were not out and about yet. Hole 9 goes by a softball field, which can be avoided if it is in use by teeing off outside the right field fence without affecting the hole much, and it also crosses a soccer field which may be in use at times. It had been quite dry, and being in late October, a lot of the normal foliage had started to die out for the winter. My suspicion is that a month earlier, the sections of unmaintained fields on holes 5 through 8 may have been more dense. I have also heard, though not experienced, if the water level is high enough in the river that the water can come into play on holes 6 through 9, though I have not verified this for myself. It was also quite windy on the day I played with 25-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and though it did affect my play, it did not affect my feelings on the course as a whole. There is only one course configuration at this course. Rules about alcohol and tobacco are unclear, however my suspicion is that with it being on a college campus, alcohol is not allowed. If you know for sure, post it in the comments. Trash is carry in, carry out, though there are a few trash cans that I saw in the parking lot by hole 1. There are no bathrooms available. Whether or not dogs are allowed is unclear. I'll have my overall review of the course at the end of the video. Be sure to post your comments as to your thoughts of what looks fun and where you think the problem areas are. Now we'll go to the large parking lot where you should park if school is in session.
Here we are on Saturday, October 26th at New Hampshire Technical Institute in Concord, New Hampshire. A couple things to note on the drive in. The Google Maps marker from UDisc is accurate. However, there's a little bit of a parking issue potentially. So where we are here, just after you go past the baseball fields, there's a very large empty open parking lot on the right. I see A1, A2, A3 as the parking spaces here. And then we can follow along this little road here. And we have another little parking lot to the right here across from the Early Learning Center. And this is still where before where you've been directed by the maps. If it looks like things are packed and you're looking for a spot to park, that larger parking lot is going to be the better option to go to. There's the secondary lot, which is not as packed and is probably a reasonable place to park. The very last parking lot that you're directed to is reserved for faculty, staff, and visitors for the staff. So my guess is that during school hours that this is probably not really a good option of a place to park. So you can see there's the reserved sign. But if we take a left here, this is the parking lot that the marker is placed for UDisc. But if we just go to the end of this lot here, we have, now those cones I'm guessing won't be there, but we have the NHTI disc golf sign to get us started right at the end of this parking lot. And this concrete pad, I believe, is the first tee. All right, so just to the left of the sign, we have this concrete tee pad. According to UDisc, it looks like the tee is supposed to be somewhere off to the left of this, but I could not find anything tee pad signs. Maybe there's sort of a dirt spot over there between here and the fence. It looks like it could be it, but it's really hard to say for sure exactly where it is. So I'm going to play this off the concrete pad that's just by this sign. UDisc listed as 215 foot par 3. From here, I think it is a little bit shorter than that. I paced it out. I'm guessing it's about 190 from here. So again, a little hard to see exactly where the tee pad is. And I did find signs for, at least for hole 2. So we'll see those later on. But the basket is easy to spot. It's directly in front of us. As you may be able to see from the falling leaves on this late October morning, it is a bit windy here, and here this is a bit open. There's also some picnic tables here, so obviously if there are people picnicking, you're going to want to be careful and maybe either skip the first hole or possibly start from another point. Yeah, got a little scared of the wind and picked it up, so it should be an easy 3 from there. I had the right length but the wrong direction. Again, got a little scared of the wind here, but I actually have a circle 2 birdie putt here from here, so we'll see if I can take a run at it and see how it works out. Left it way short, but drop in for 3 from there. All right, so to get from the basket of 1 to the tee of 2, you can actually see the sign on this large tree right over here past the basket of hole 1. And if we walk over towards the tree, this is the tee for hole 2. Now, these appear to be dirt tees, and as it is late October, there are a lot of leaves on the ground, but there's this area sort of cleared away for a dirt tee box here for the tee for hole 2, right next to this large tree here. Hole 2 is a 387 foot par 3, so long one straight ahead out in the open. Though it is difficult to see the basket from the tee, there's an entrance just to the left of where the tennis courts are that is a break in the fence. If we look 2 poles to the right of the gap in the fence to get into the tennis courts, the basket is just in front of that. It is on this side of the fence, so again, it's just kind of a straightaway shot. If you aim basically for the tennis court that's on the left, you're going to be in the area, and I'll point it out here in editing. But and I threw that straight into the ground. All right, POV drop in for 4. So something else I will point out here is that there's actually no gap in the fence. It just kind of looks like there's a gap with the way the shadows were. Though it is slightly downhill, the basket is about 15 feet in front of the fence, and with it being a chain link fence all the way across, that's probably 10 feet high, you can really make a run at this basket and not have to worry about going long, because it's going to hit the fence and drop short. To get from the basket of 2 to the tee for 3, the tee for 3 is just on the other side of the tennis courts, hockey rink, fenced in area here. So if we take a left to go towards the river, there is a nice sign here stating that hole 3 is this way to the right. And if we continue to the right here, we can walk around the fenced fenced-in area. Take a nice look at the river. I believe there are a couple holes that are inside that, on that island, that we'll get to later. And if we continue on just around the other side of the fence here, we have the tee pad for hole 3. And again, there's no real distinct tee pad, it's just kind of a start from here-ish. Hole 3 is a 276-foot par 3. Straight ahead, dead open field shot. So this is mostly about, can you get it there? Do you have the distance control? Again, I'm going to give out the excuse that it is super windy today. Wind is going mostly from right to left, but a little bit in our face as well. The basket's in the middle of the field, so it's basically just get it there and see how close you can end up. Something else I've noticed here, holes 1 and 3 anyway, the baskets are not very far off the ground. So the pole is maybe 2.5 feet high before the bottom of the cage. So instead of the standard cages 4 to 5 feet off the ground, it's much closer to the ground here. So again, holes 1 and 3 here, if you're making an ace run, you don't really have to worry about it blowing by too far, because the baskets, again, they're kind of in the ground. Wind definitely picked that up. That's going to be a tough 3 from there. Basket is even shorter here than it appears. It's maybe a foot, maybe 14 inches off the ground to the bottom of the basket. So again, very low to the ground here, which is again a little odd, but different. So I haven't seen that before. Gives it a little personality to the hole anyway, being out in an open field. So to get from the basket of 3 to the tee for 4, with our back to the tee pad, we walk past the basket and we take a little walk over here. We have the sign and the area for hole 4 right in front of us here. Hole 4 is a 478-foot par 4, straight ahead, open field shot. We do have the woods on the left and the road on the right, but those are far enough out where even in this wind, they shouldn't really play too much havoc. The wind is a little bit right to left here, but mostly from behind. The basket is straight ahead of us. If we look off in the distance, there is a single tree on the left. Just to the right of that, there is a cluster of 3 or 4 trees. The basket is just in front of that cluster of trees straight ahead. So again, it's kind of how far can you throw it out there? 478. If I get a 4 here, I will be quite happy with that. Yeah, I've been throwing them so popped up in the air today, I'm a little scared, so I threw that one straight into the ground. All right, here that we're next to the basket, we can see we do have a lot of room all the way around. You do really have to go a long way past the basket, probably 50, 60 feet to get to that tree line back there. Again, the wind is kind of playing havoc with everything. And again, the basket here is, bottom of the basket is probably only 2 feet off the ground, if that. So again, short basket here. To get from the basket of 4 to the tee of 5, we have to go to the right and past the basket. Here we see a sign that's kind of directing us to hole 5, but this is a little misleading, I believe, because this is saying we should go across the street, but we actually want to stay on the same side of the street and just continue on this way over here to this cul-de-sac. And the tee for hole 5 is, in theory, just on the other side of this cul-de-sac. Okay, and here we have a concrete post here. There is no sign for hole 5. However, we do have Pluto here. UDisc has the tee pad for hole 5 listed as just on the other side of this little pathway to the left of this light pole. So we will play from somewhere over here next to the light pole. Hole 5 is a 267-foot par 3. Straight ahead, though there is this thick brush on the left, and we definitely want to avoid that thick brush. It's very deep, and there's stuff in there that we really don't want to get in there, and that's a spot that unless we see exactly where the disc goes in, it could get lost forever in there. So what's definitely the much safer play is to play out to the right. So I'm going to use a disc that I have never been able to throw to the left side, so hopefully this will work out. I'm not in the brush, so that's a success. All right, so my tee shot was short, but one interesting discovery that I have here is that this brush actually does clear out about 130 feet off the tee. So if you end up making it far enough so you're not in the thick stuff, and don't go too far that you're in the thick stuff again, you at least have a shot at finding a disc, which is good. So we'll see what I can do from here. So that went a little bit right of where I wanted, but again, kind of just going for a safe play there, up to getting it close to the basket, so I have a putt that's makeable in this wind. Well, another 4, I will take that. Holes 6, 7, and 8 are on the island, sort of in the middle of the river, so we have a bit of a hike to get there from hole 5 to hole 6. So again, with our back to the tee of hole 5, we go past the hole 5 basket. We have this little path over here. We have the sign for hole 6, and we continue along this path. We'll probably give a time lapse here. And this is a nice path to follow, and I will say that although you can't tell from here because it's fall and there are a lot of leaves on the ground, that the path here is well-maintained gravel, and we have a nice look at the river to our left. I have seen a couple people out bike riding today, so it would not surprise me if this path gets frequently used by people walking and on bikes, so just make sure you take a little look out for them there. So I think we have a candidate for the longest distance between 2 holes of any course that I have played so far, although this one is flat, which makes it easier. And we're walking. Well, at least it's a nice path and easy to follow. So here we come to the end of the fence line here, and if we take a left, we have the tee for hole 6 right in front of us. Hole 6 is a 224-foot par 3, dead straight ahead. Good news is we can see the basket from the tee, easy to spot. This is another one where the basket is not that far above ground level. The bad news is we have a 10-foot wide fairway, and then on either side of that we have 4 to 5 foot tall, thick, dense brush on either side. So again, the whole trick is going to be getting there, and especially with the wind today, my goal here is just keep it in the fairway-ish, keep it low, and not lose the disc, because if I sail one, it's going to be gone and very difficult to find. So again, I was very conservative off the tee, just making sure I didn't lose my disc. And it's just off the edge of the fairway, maybe 2 feet, and you can see how difficult it is to see that disc in there. The grass here, again, it is late October. Maybe in the spring it's not this bad, but here in late October, the grasses are 1.5 to 2 feet deep, and then these other bushes are 4.5, some places 5 feet tall. So again, I'm just happy to get out of here with whatever I can to not lose a disc. All right, I'm happy with my 4 and no lost discs here at hole 6. So to get from the basket of 6 to the tee of 7, we can just continue bear left past the basket, follow the path, And here we have the tee sign for hole 7. Hole 7 is a 383-foot par 3. Though the tee sign says straight ahead, if you follow the pathway here, it is a dogleg right. To see where the basket itself is, it is way over to the left edge of the tree. There's one large tree that's kind of sticking out off in the distance, the closest one sort of in this field. It is even further right of that. If you're following the path, it's basically 150, 200 feet straight ahead to where it starts to curve to the right. After about 75 feet, it does open up on the right side. So though the brush is thick, it's not as thick as it was in hole 6. If you're using a obnoxiously bright colored disc, it may be easier to see. So I may get a little bit more aggressive here. But again, realistically, with the way this brush is and not wanting to lose a disc, if I take a 5 on this par 3, I will be happy. All right, and I popped it up, which is what I was afraid of, but I'm not too far into the brush on the left, so I should be able to see what's going on from there. Here we are looking back at the tee, and if we swing around to the right, we can see that it does open up here a little bit on the right side, but again, this grass is still 1 foot 16, 18 inches tall here. So my drive ended up in the left here. Again, you can see I'm about 5-6 feet off the fairway, and though I do have a shot, again, it does open up, but it's going to be tough to find a disc in there if it goes too far in. And we're still not even to the corner yet. We can see the hole just sort of starts to bend earlier, and then the radius of the corner tightens as we get through there. And then once we get all the way around here, we have a straight shot at the green. But to get to this point, you can't see the tee from here, where you really need to get to be able to see the basket. So again, it's kind of a very risky play for discs, and the possibility, I think, of losing one is high enough that I'm just going to play super conservative here. Once we get up to the basket here, basically circle 1 is kind of green bend mode taken care of, but anything beyond that, you're in the brush. It is a little bit less dense here, but it's still not stuff you really want to be getting lost in. Again, right now it is dry here, and it's this time of year where some of this stuff is starting to die off. So I imagine a month ago this stuff would have been an absolute disaster to try and get through. So I took a 6 here, and happy to have not lost any discs, and just playing super conservative, not really caring about the score as much as I am about just making sure that I don't lose anything. So to get from our basket of 7 to the tee for 8, we can take a right past the basket and follow this path here. And then right up here we have the tee pad for hole 8. Hole 8 is a 258-foot par 3. Again, same deal as 6 and 7. The brush, again, is more like 7, where it's not super duper thick or super duper tall, but you really don't want to be in there getting stuff lost. The basket is just to the very right edge of the fairway, off in the distance. I'm a little bit right of the tee pad where I'm going to be teeing off from, but you can see the basket from here, and it does look like 6 and 7 that it does open up a little bit here. I may get a little bit more aggressive here, but probably not, just again because I don't want to go chasing discs through this stuff. I'm a little bit less worried about actually losing one here, but I don't want to go wandering through trying to find a disc here. Yeah, so that's about as aggressive as I would want to play it. Again, here I'm okay being a little bit more aggressive because there's less brush, but still I'm right on the edge of the fairway even with that. All right, here we are at the green of hole 8, and although it's more grass and it's a little bit more open, a little bit easier to see what's going on here, especially if you have an obnoxiously bright colored disc like fluorescent green. It is easier to see. However, we still have issues like I am on the edge of the fairway here of the mode section, and I am still in the middle of pricker bushes here. So there's some thorns here that I have to work around, and that's about as aggressive of a tee shot as I would want to take here. If we go long, there's more of the super duper thick stuff, so we don't want to be long or out there here. Again, it's just conservative. With the wind here, even from this distance, like I will be happy with probably just lay up here, take my 3, and be happy to move on. I'll have a drop-in 3 from there, so I'll take that. To get from the basket of hole 8 to the tee for hole 9, it is another journey. So we do have quite a walk to go on. So we continue past the basket to the left. And if we go up here, this sort of opens up into another actual, what looks like road that vehicles can come in and out. This is a conservatory. We continue on down this little road. Again, we are walking parallel to the river. River is on our left, past a couple of gazebos. And we have another little picnic table and a kiosk up here. This is very likely going to be another time lapse. So this is an attempt to repopulate the area with native plants and drive out invasive species here. So there is if we want to pause that and read the whole thing, you can. If we continue back onto the road, yeah, that's apparently a community garden area. Again, continue on this main road. So this section of the river, it's kind of a little outlet marsh area to the left, not the main part of the river. And just past here, this is the road that we would have driven in on. We do not cross the road, we stay on the same side of the road here. And we follow this dirt roadway around to the left. There's the main NHTI entrance sign. I did happen to notice the basket for a hole, which looks like it's going to be hole 9, because we have not played the basket on my drive in before I started recording. I believe we want to take a left next to the baseball field here. And there's our sign for hole 9. Follow along this way. Continue behind the softball field. Beyond the softball field, we have a practice soccer field. Now we can see the basket for hole 9 on the other side of the soccer field. All right, so we want to follow the fence for the softball field on the right side until the very end. And right here, that's the foul pole, which I think should be called a fair pole. We have the tee for hole 9. Hole 9 is a 327-foot par 3, straight ahead. Again, it's a little unclear exactly where the tee is for hole 9 because of the way the footing is and because there's nobody on the softball field right now. I'm going to use the edge of the warning track of the softball field as the tee box. We can see the basket pretty much straight ahead. Not a whole lot to miss. We want to be wary of people practicing on the soccer field. There aren't any on this side of the soccer field right now, but there may be because our flight is going to go over at least the corner of the field here. So we'll see what we can do. Again, straight ahead, dead open. Just the idea is don't hit anything, and we definitely do not want to end up on the stuff way left. but especially with the way the wind is going right now, it is going right to left here. So, though we do want to be a little bit wary of going way left here, there's a ton of room out to the right. I think, again, it's just kind of get it out in the direction of the basket. With the way the wind is today, if I get a 3, I'll be happy, very happy, and 4 is kind of what I'm expecting here. Goal! Well, this is going to be an interesting second shot. I think I'm tall enough where I can reach around outside the goal and at least have a clear shot at it. Not really, and I threw it way too high. All right, let's see if I can make a putt to save 4. Nice, caught on the edge of the chains and drop in for a 4. That's one of the reasons I really like this putter. All right, so having completed our round here with our back to the tee of hole 9 to get back to where we started, we've got a couple options, but the primary one is going to be to take a right and follow this path. This path here will spit us out right by tee for hole 1. So as we continue on, here we have a little playground, and then if we continue around to the right, we will end up in the parking lot where we started. You can see they are teeing off from the first tee, at least from where we started on the first tee, so that makes me feel better about not being able to find the tee for hole 1. And here we are.
There were no active upgrades that I saw at the time of filming. Though there was some tree clearing going on around the green area of hole 4, it is far enough out of the way that the work being done won't affect how the hole is played. The thumbnail for this video is the green of hole 1. With some of the fall foliage still in place, this makes for a nice picture and a preview of hole 2. My favorite hole is also hole 1. It has the most elevation change of any hole, and between the tree near the green and picnic tables, it adds a little variety to the course. Unfortunately, the course only gets worse from here. My least favorite hole is hole 7. Not only is this my least favorite hole on this course, it is my least favorite hole on any disc golf course that I have ever played. It is a long par 3 at 383 feet. The tee sign indicates that it is a straight shot, but the fairway is not straight. You cannot see the basket from the tee, and if you go more than a few feet off the 10-foot wide fairway, or outside of 30 feet from the basket, there's a very high potential to lose a disc. This is a par 3 that I was happy to get out of with taking a 6 on and not having had any lost discs. Dishonorable mentions go to holes 6 and 8. Hole 6 is the second worst disc golf hole I have ever played, with the hole being short and straight, and hole 8 being the least bad of the 3 only because there's more open area around the basket. My suspicion is that only a minimal amount of the island that holes 6, 7, and 8 are on can be regularly maintained for environmental reasons in an attempt to repopulate the area with native plants, and though that is a more noble pursuit than a disc golf course, it does have a significant impact on these particular holes. The first and last holes are critical for introducing the course and leaving the last impression at the end of the round. As I mentioned earlier, hole 1 is my favorite hole on the course. It's a good start to the round, and I wish that more of the course was like hole 1. That said, at most of the other courses I have played, this would not be in the running for my favorite hole on the course. It's fine, but it's nothing special. Hole 9 is also fine. It's a palate cleanser after having played holes 6 through 8, and it does remind you what most of the rest of the course is about. Throwing a 300-plus foot shot to a basket across an open field. That said, it's not particularly memorable and doesn't do anything to make me want to come back and play this course again. The best thing about this course was course navigation. Aside from picking a spot to tee off for hole 1 and figuring out where to tee off from on hole 5 where there's no sign, the navigation is well marked as long as you trust that there really is that long of a walk from hole 5 to 6 and from 8 to 9. In both cases, there isn't really any way to take a wrong turn, it's just long. You can see the basket from all tees except for hole 7, but if you follow the mowed 10-foot wide path and choose not to go through the 4-foot tall weeds instead, you'll end up in the right place. Navigating this course is like updating Windows on your computer. It tells you exactly where you are, approximates how long it will take, gives updates at various points along the way to let you know that something is still happening. There's not anything particularly dramatic that's happening, and at some steps it feels like it takes way longer than it should for the perceived benefit that you are getting. As far as how safe this course is for discs, holes 1 through 4 and 9 are extremely safe for discs, with those holes being effectively in the middle of open fields. On hole 5, going left may lose you a disc in the weeds. This resulted in a more conservative tee shot than I would have otherwise thrown, but a combination of knowing how tall the grass is opens up a little bit, and not playing in swirling 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts would mean that my tee shot wouldn't be affected playing this hole in the future. Then we have holes 6, 7, and 8. The potential to lose a disc here is so high that I was extraordinarily conservative on hole 6 and 7, and the option of not playing these two holes at all and just walk through them is something that I seriously considered. I did play them, but I was content with my combined 4 over par and no lost discs, especially taking the wind into consideration. Hole 8 is not as bad with it being more open around the basket, but I did use a disc off the tee that I was okay losing. That was not what I would have used without the lost disc potential. The tee signs that are there are decent, though the signs on holes 1 and 5 are missing, and the sign on hole 7 is misleading as to the direction of the basket. There are no elevation changes on the signs, though as all of the holes are nearly flat except for hole 1, that's not a big deal. Tee pads don't exist, so where to tee off from is basically just pick a spot near the tee sign and throw from there-ish. The baskets add another unusual quirk to this course. They are all Innova disc catcher baskets and have an easy-to-see yellow band and are of all good quality and are in good condition. The unusual piece is that they're all much closer to the ground than normal, many with the base of the basket being less than 2 feet off the ground. I would say that this is a positive design choice to try and do something to make the course a bit more unique. My overall course rating is that I would be willing to drive 10 minutes out of my way to play this course for the first time, and I'd be willing to ride a bike 15 minutes to play this course again. I'd be more likely to go here to do field work on holes 2, 3, or 4 on an open athletic field than to actually play a 9-hole round of disc golf. Let's pretend that the wind was calm and that holes 6, 7, and 8 were not overwhelmed by the paranoia of losing a disc. Every hole other than 1 and maybe 5 at a stretch is effectively in an open field with no elevation change. This is fine for a hole or two, but not for the majority of the course. Without significant course changes, if I had to get into a car to play this course again, I would much prefer to drive the 15 minutes north to play at the Valley, link in the description, hence the 15-minute bike ride to play the course again. If you also consider the time it takes to walk from hole 5 to 6 here and hole 8 to 9, this offsets a good chunk of the 15-minute drive time from NHTI to the Valley. If you go to NHTI, I suppose it would be worth occasionally playing starting at hole 9 and then playing 1 through 5, but unless you're trying to play every course or just want to play due to morbid curiosity, I'd skip this one. There's also the pay-to-play course at Top of the Hill, which though I have not played yet, it is a top-rated course in New Hampshire on UDisc that's about a 15-minute drive away. It's unlikely that I will play this course again unless there are significant changes such as relocating holes 6 through 8 to another part of campus. If you like this video more than I like the NHTI course, like, share, and subscribe, and check out my other video linked here or the playlist of my disc golf courses of New Hampshire linked in the description.